Welcome to this episode of Sunny Silver Linings. This is part 2 of a fantastic interview with Jack Daly from Jack Daly Sales. His most recent book, Life by Design, Your Path to an Exceptional Life, provides concrete methods to help you live your best life. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kayla. Over to you, Sunny.
Is there anything, so because the biggest thing that MSP or in general technology companies are facing this year, Jack, is tech talent shortage. And the great resignation era is making it harder for companies to retain the good people. So, is there any lesson from Jack Daly's Life by Design that business owners can learn to create a good culture for their team members? There's something that they can adopt to be good leaders, or they can do that for their team members. So that culture, the example that you used, which is so powerful, that if I know bucket list of my next layer and I can support them, I can help them with their bucket list, obviously that relationship, that influence, it goes up. And is there anything else that you want to share?
The first thing I would tell you is don't even take it from my words. Let's take it from a guy that everyone heralds, and that is Peter Drucker. And Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So what I challenge business people is figure out where you spend your time as a leader. What percentage of your time is spent on the financial side of your business? What percent of the time is spent on the sales side of your business? What percent of your time is spent on the operations side of the business? And then what percent of the time is spent on the culture side of your business? Because what I hear leaders say is how important culture is. But then when I ask them to put the percentages of their time, culture is way down the list in terms of percentage of time. We give lip service, we don't give action to it. So if the people side is important, attracting and retaining top talent, if that's very important to your organization, then invest the time in the culture side, making it a place of desirability, right? Now, I like to say there are 4 key legs. So we'll stay with the dog and their legs. There's 4 key legs to a strong culture. One is recognition systems. So people starve for recognition. And it can be as simple, Sonny, as a handwritten note saying, thanks, you're doing a great job and you're highly appreciated. One of the things that I learned in my journey of visiting all the presidential libraries was how prolific the presidents were when they were in office writing handwritten notes. I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of handwritten notes a month to people saying, you're really doing a great job. And can you imagine getting a handwritten note from the President of the United States? It would be an honor, and you would keep it and maybe frame it. Well, our employees look at us in a similar vein as leaders. So recognition systems is one leg. Communication system is the second leg. And that is, our people want to know how the company's going and where it's going. How's it doing and where are we going? And they'd like to hear more frequently from us. The third is empowerment processes. People want to be given the authority to make decisions without having to check in with us. And that's really coming from the millennials. And they would really like to be empowered, and we're holding them back. And as a result, they're in search of a place that will give them more autonomy. And then the fourth is personal and professional development processes. And we've been hitting around that here on the culture side and on the Life by Design and the bucket list and getting people's dreams and all of that. If I could figure out how to help other people do things that they think are big things that they'll never get to do, they'll want to hang around with me for a long time. I'll give you some examples. I put on my bucket list on my website that I wanted to fly a jet fighter plane. A YPO member that I never knew contacted me, told me he bought this plane from the Air Force. He sent a photo, And then we arranged to meet. It was the first time that I ever met him. His name was Wei Chen. He shook my hand, gave me the helmet, put me in the cockpit, and off we went. And I flew the plane. He helped one of my bucket list items come true, but we can't help people with their bucket list items if they don't have one, if they don't go public with it. I'm trying, your audience, if any of you can get me on Augusta to play golf where the Masters is played, I haven't gotten that done yet. So I could use the help. I want to carry the torch in the Olympics. If anybody can help me carry the torch, that's an item that I'm looking to do. I want to meet a president of the United States in the Oval Office and fly on Air Force One. If anyone can help me do that, I would really appreciate it. Now, an awful lot of people say, you're putting things on your bucket list that just aren't real. You're not capable of doing it. Well, I have 75% of them done, and you go look at my list, and you'll see some things that you would probably have said, well, that's not possible. An Ironman on all the continents except for Antarctica, he's 58 years old. It didn't matter. I got it done, right? So that's what I would tell people is building a culture where the people who work there say the leaders of the company care about me personally.
That is,
if we win over their hearts, they'll stay with us.
Yeah. So having big dreams and having those big dreams in your bucket list and not being afraid to have a big dream. And so that's what made you have that and then accomplish you said 75% of the bucket list is complete. So that is the power of dreaming big and then having that discipline behind that and put that message, as you said, out there to the universe, because magical things can happen when you put that message out there. Resources and resources do show up, right? And if you just
hey,
people don't know.
I'll tell you what. This is sort of funny, but it's real. At one stage, I had 90% of my bucket list completed, and then I paused and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is not a list that you want to complete. That means you die." And so I regularly go online and I browse through everybody else's bucket list items. So you could Google bucket list and you'll find access to all kinds of things. So there's things in my bucket list now that I never thought I would put on there, like shear a sheep, or wrap a snake around my neck. Like these are crazy, goofy things, but I want to make sure that I'm always adding to my bucket list big items and small items. I have an item on there that just says I want to kiss a loved one on the top of the Ferris wheel. So we'll get that done.
Yes. No, thank you. And yeah, so what I heard you say, Jack, is for culture recognition and the example that you gave, just a simple handwritten note. It's about your intent. It's about your, what energy that you're giving to people when you're recognizing and that feeling, right? If culture is a feeling, how your recognition, whatever method you're using, whatever system process you're using, if you can drive that outcome, that's beautiful. And communication system, empowerment system, and personal and professional development or lifelong learning. So so what leaders can do to better communicate? The way you gave example of that handwritten note, is there anything that you have in terms of communication system recommendation that worked for you or that you think can work for other leaders?
Yeah, so before I answer that, here's again in my goals for this year. I turned to this page and handwritten notes. My goal this year is to do 180. And I will track and measure them in my measuring device, and it happens. If I look at where I was last year with handwritten notes, this is my summary of what took place. And I had a goal of 180, and I accomplished 326 handwritten notes last year. But because I have a system and I have people checking on me, it ends up becoming reality. So, when we go back to your question about communication, I'm not here trying to sell a book, but in this book, Hyper Sales Growth, which I wrote 8 years ago, there are 17 specific communication vehicles I identify in that book that leaders can do to help build their culture. So an easy example is a daily huddle where we get everybody together every day for 15 minutes or less, and we just, what's hot, what's not, and we move on. And so we're all on the same page every day. Now I have some leaders that say, we can't afford to take people away from what their work is for 15 minutes every day. And then we have other people that say, I'm doing it and I've been doing it for years and it's the best thing I could have done for communication. Now, what are the differences in those two people? Let me show you the difference. Urgent versus important. People and companies tend to underperform to their capabilities because we rush to the urgent at the expense of the important. And what's important is let's communicate how we're doing and where we're going. And we've got to carve that time out in that 180 hours of time that we have each week to invest.
Yeah, that's awesome. So urgent always takes a priority, and then the strategic important stuff or high impact stuff is normally delayed. And empowerment. Jack, is there any suggestion, any advice that you have for leaders where they can make their team members feel empowered?
Yeah, so let me just show about urgent versus important, and then I'll go there. This is a great tool. These are great tools. Since you and I started a little around 45 minutes ago, I have 46 unopened emails that came in because I was clean before we got here. So when I finish, I'm going to get pulled to the urgent. And that's going to feel like urgent. But on reflection, are they really that important? Or would writing a note be more important? I have a new wife because of the loss of my prior wife, and Karen and I are now 2 years into our relationship. And I'm back traveling again, and I was in Wisconsin and Michigan last week. But before I left, and Karen, by the way, owns and runs an $80 million company. So she's a busy professional. But before I left, I snuck and put 8 note cards in different places in the house, in the refrigerator, in the bathroom, all these different places. So as she spent her 2 days without me, she was getting love notes from me. By the way, I had a whole bunch of emails I could have gone to, but I figured I'd get to those later. So I wanted to deal with the important thing, which is building our relationship and not rushing to the urgent. That's what I've learned.
Yeah,
now, back to your question on empowerment. Here's the high bar that I set on empowerment. This is a very high bar. Creating an environment in my business where the employees who work in my business feel comfortable making decisions as if they own the place. So literally, I put that out there in my company and plead with people, I can't be there when you're in front of the customer. Just think, what would Jack do, and do it. Don't phone me, don't email me, don't ask for permission. We'll figure all that out later. But let's go. The world in the last 20 years has changed into a world called immediate gratification. People want things now. So when our employees are dealing with customers, we don't want to get the organization structure in the way of getting the deal done. So empower our people. And then when you empower them, we have to be cautious. If they went too far, we don't want to slap their hand. We want to pat them on the back and educate them on the next time. Let's not go that far. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And the last question is on personal and professional development. And is there any advice there for leaders where they can make a bigger difference in terms of developing their people, cultivating that talent through the, so what is your advice? What can they do to make that impact?
Yeah, so there's an awful lot of things we can do there, but on the personal development side, I think we've covered it. I would say get people's bucket list, get them going in that direction, find out what's important to them in their lives, and see if you can help them achieve it. On the professional side, I think it's setting an example of lifelong learning, whether that's viewing TED videos, or whether it's going to business people's websites, thought leaders' websites, reading books, having a book of the month for the company that we identify, and everyone reads it, and we have a get together and talk about what did we learn from the book. And it's optional. If you want to attend the session, you can attend the session. And it'll speak to your culture. If you've got 100 employees and only 5 people show up for the session, we've got issues there. We need to get the message of we're not growing, and if you're not growing, you're dying. And so why is a 72-year-old guy last year read 104 books? Well, because I want to be relevant, right? Let me show you. You personally will love this, Sonny. I mentioned Scott Galloway as a thought leader, and he's in my top list. This was his chart of the week last week, and I just want to share this with you to just get a sense of how powerful this is. The time between receiving an Amazon order and sending it out for delivery is 45 minutes. So here's what he said. That's how much time passes between the moment you click place your order and the moment your package gets loaded on the truck. 45 minutes. This is what we're now competing with. That includes processing, locating, packing, scanning, and labeling your package before it hits the road. All done in 45 minutes. As a business owner, I need to be able to understand this is what the public is getting accustomed to. They're raising the bar, immediate gratification. When I can order from my computer and get the product the next day, that's what expectation now I have of you and your firm. And then he finishes with this. Amazon now receives 10 million orders per day. 10 million orders a day, 115 orders per second. And 1 out of every 153 American workers is an Amazon employee. That's our world. Now, what I want to know as a business leader is I need to stay current with that. I need to stay aware of that. So I identify my thought leaders that I track. I identify the thought leaders that I want to read their books, all of Scott Galloway's books I've read. And I'm going to get enriched and better because of that. And I need to instill that for personal professional development inside my company. It's not about me. It's about all of us being that much better. Yeah. And that's called culture.
Yeah. And no, that's so important. Organizations are people. And if you're not prepared to evolve and really, then you can be irrelevant very soon. And you got to be a growing culture, growth mindset, growth oriented company. And that comes from people's growth, because growing people means growing company. And so I want to also share with our audience your top 3 favorite books. You shared with me early, when we were starting, and I love those. So now we're talking about the books. And can you share your top 3?
Yeah, so I will. I'll also tell you that if you go to YouTube Jack Daly, I have about 30 YouTube videos that are 1 or 2 minutes long, and one of them is my favorite 3 books. But it's all kinds of things about getting to know who I am as a human being, and so they're right there live. People want to know how I became what I am today, so I just did a series of videos. There's 30 of them on the YouTube. But the books, number 1 book for me is Endurance, and Endurance is written by a guy by the name of Lansing. And basically, it is the story of Shackleton going and visiting Antarctica. And I got about a third of the way through the book, and I was like, how can there be 2/3 left? This guy's already gone to hell and back. It is a great, great book on grit and leadership. That's what that book's all about. That's the never, ever, ever give up book. The second book is Mindset. And Mindset is written by an author by the name of DeWick, D-W-E-C-K. And what she basically says is what you were talking about earlier, which is, what kind of a mindset do you have? Do you have a growth mindset or a non-growth mindset? And we can quickly assess people's mindset. The growth mindset people are the people that often are the more successful people. The people that look at, I want to go to the next opportunity. And then the third book is Essentialism. And Essentialism is written by a fellow by the name of McCowan. And basically, Essentialism is, there's a lot of things that we can invest our time with. Invest your time with less things and make those the more substantive, important things. So if you say that family is so important to you, then is it manifested in the time that you invest in your family? Family is number 1 on my goals here, and I have twice monthly dinners with family and friends, twice monthly dress-up dinners with Karen, outside runs together, movies together, 12, golf rounds together, 50, and then I have my other kids and what I'm going to do there. It's all detailed out. I can't just say, my family is important to me, and let it die on the vine. It has to be intentional with specificity, and then give it to people and say, hold me accountable.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack. And so Jack Daly's Life by Design, when is it coming out again?
This book should be out in about 30 days. The hardback is up on Amazon for pre-order right now. I just finished the audio version, and we haven't proofed the edit yet. So that should be up in another 2 weeks. And I'll also tell you that an awful lot of people know the name Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek, start with Y author. I have his testimonial on the cover, and this is what Simon said. Thank God Jack Daly exists. For decades, we hired Jack to teach us how to sell better, yet all the while, what he was actually teaching us was how to be better human beings. And so that's what this book is about, how to be a better human being.
Yeah, and being intentional about being a better human being and life by design. I can't wait to read this book, Jack. And thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom, your life experiences, your bucket list. And it was, thank you so much. It was great.
Sonny, it is a treat anytime I get to spend with you. And I wish that we were living closer to one another instead of on opposite coast here in the US. Otherwise, you and Cam would have me regularly visiting your house and disrupting yourselves.
We will be done with this whole COVID stuff, and so you're welcome to come to our place, and we would love to host you here and cook some Indian food for you whenever you are in the New Jersey area. So this is your home. Thank you so much, Jack.
Absolutely. Karen would love to be with you. Absolutely. Thanks so much.